Hogs don't usually worry about letting each other down. They're selfish animals. But there are hogs, then there are hogs. And it just seems to be the natural instinct of hogs that when they see a Dallas Cowboys jersey, they want to tear it apart.
We're both greedy, two greedy organizations. They want to move.
For the city of Dallas, the talk could begin after last week's rout of Seattle, as the seconds began ticking away toward a meeting with Washington.
Beat them Skins, beat them Skins. Skin game, yeah.
What about the Skins? You got Dallas.
Meanwhile, in Washington,
I think the fans said they wouldn't care if we won another game as long as we beat this Cowboys. I couldn't tell you what the Texas fans are like. I really couldn't. And I'm from Texas.
Just give me the chance to see Tony D. Davis. Let me watch Harvey Martin a while.
no doubt they love their football in Big D, but the business of this city is business. It was a week without much fanfare because success has spoiled Cowboy fans.
This is an arrogant town. People think here the Cowboys ought to win. They ought to be in the Super Bowl every year, and the Redskins are this perpetual gnat that needs to be swatted.
Dallas is a city that's watched us so long, and we've been very successful for many, many years. So to them, unless we go to the Super Bowl, it's not too big.
Dallas may be blasé, but interest here in Washington has reached unprecedented heights. So much so, in fact, that the game has become the subject of high-level discussions.
I'm sure President Reagan is all hyped about this game Sunday. I would say that if Andropov came to Washington on Sunday, no one would be at Andrews Air Force Base to meet him. But it's amazing to me, the feeling that a football game could bring to people in a town like Washington.
And in Washington, there is nothing like Dallas Week.
So the Redskins unify this city. It's the only really sports team that we have that does that.
Is there such a thing as writing, speaking, reading too much about a game? There's a term for the build-up.
The hype is what's the story here. You know what I would do at this game? I would have the ultimate hype. At halftime, I would have a Cabbage Patch Doll show. And I would call this afternoon Hype America.
Dallas finally came alive with a huge rally yesterday. At the same time, the Redskins left Washington deserted for a game with a special meaning.
We've still got things going on in Lebanon, and we've got things going on in Grenada. I think maybe it's because our life and our diet is so serious. We take special pleasure in those things that aren't perhaps as serious as that.
You know, Brent, there wasn't much verbal sparring between the teams during the week, so finally Dexter Manley couldn't stand it any longer, and he announced to the press that the Redskins had to be very careful not to overlook Dallas this week because they got the Giants coming up next Sunday.
Let it go. All right.
And quarterback Joe Theismann, he limbered up the old passing arm, pitching a few horseshoes.
Bring them on.
But when the Redskins left for the flight to Dallas, they were dressed for combat and in no mood to take any prisoners. Their battle plan was focused on one man, quarterback Danny White. Tom Landry gave the Cowboys yesterday off, so White talked a little strategy with her across. And later in the day, when Tom Landry was not looking, Butch Johnson slipped away and gave him a little California quake, and it was unbelievable. Now listen to what some of the players had to say.
I think it'll be a heavyweight fight. The first Monday night game was a heavyweight. I think this is going to be as similar, but the only time I think that we can't afford to get knocked out in the fifth round.
It's going to be a street fight, and I think it's the kind of thing where if you wear a single bar or you wear a single chin strap, you might think about putting 2 bars on and double chin strap in it because it's going to be that kind of a game.
It'll be a confrontation, beast on beast, and it'll be a real war.
The Redskins and the Cowboys, there's no love lost.
I think we're going to score at least 30 points. Them, maybe 17.
30-17.
That is a prediction. That's the fact, Jack.
Butch the Greek.
Just remember this. 40 men together can't lose. Okay.
It was George Allen who turned the Redskins-Cowboy series into a rivalry. Allen who sent Larry Brown hurtling into the doomsday defense 25 and 30 times a game. Allen who gave the name to special teams and set them loose on Dallas. It was Allen who fired this rivalry with real passion. Allen beat the Cowboys for the NFC Championship on New Year's Eve, 1972, his biggest moment in Washington. But the most vivid memory of his wars with Dallas remains Thanksgiving Day, 1974. Rookie Clint Longley, with just 35 seconds to play, heaves a 50-yard bomb to Drew Pearson, and Allen's Redskins are beaten. Most often, these late Cowboy theatrics were directed by Roger Staubach, who dominated the rivalry in the late 70s. Remember 1979 when he beat Washington with 2 touchdowns in the final 2.5 minutes? Last season, Staubach's successor, Danny White, led the Cowboys into RFK Stadium for his first title game with Washington. But the afternoon ended abruptly for White, knocked cold by the fierce rush of Dexter Manley. In the fourth quarter, with the game on the line, there was Manley again, batting a pass to teammate Darrell Grant for the winning touchdown. It was hard to convince Redskin fans that the next game was the Super Bowl. 8 months later, the same 2 teams in the same stadium opened the 1983 season. Early on, the Redskins embarrassed Dallas, taking a 23-3 lead at halftime. But in the third quarter, 2 long White to Tony Hill passes triggered another Cowboy comeback and the victory, 31-30. This afternoon in Texas Stadium, pro football's greatest rivalry is raging once again.